Hello, it's not a normal world, it's Taskmaster world. I almost fell into the third channel there. Shouldn't be doing that. It's anyway, but welcome to today's video. It's another episode of Taskmaster World, the podcast. Now we are back talking about Taskmaster New Zealand. We did take a detour last episode to talk to Bam Larson, the Swedish Taskmaster, and we're back talking about Taskmaster New Zealand now. We're doing another special episode. This is the third special episode in the Taskmaster World, the podcast setting. And today we're here with a very special guest. She's best known for appearing in Series 2 of Taskmaster New Zealand, the series we're currently talking about. And she's also best known for being a comedian. Overall, it's the one, the only, and all the way from the future, it is Urzila Carlson.
Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, that's all right. What's it like in the future?
It's actually a bit overcast today, so I'd take a light jumper if you're going out, but it's still early. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, you know. I'm still on my first cup of coffee. Got about 10 to go.
Do we have flying cars yet?
Almost, yeah. Guy went really fast here last night, hit the bump in the road, and he flew a bit, but I'm still driving on the road one, but I'm hoping today.
Yeah. Right. I had that prepared for weeks. That's my worst joke ever.
I've heard way worse, mate.
Yeah. For the viewers out there, I will explain because it will make more sense. In New Zealand, it's currently Monday, and in the UK, it's currently Sunday. So it is the future in a sense, which makes sense in a sense. I need to stop using the word sense. Anyway, we'll crack on because I'm getting too carried away with the word sense. Now, what was it like being on set of Taskmaster New Zealand?
It's two different worlds. I just want to say, number one, I learned a lot about myself. Number two, when you first start, because you're just by yourself, you're there with the crew and production, and you're just in this room by yourself. And then, your little dressing room, and they set up all the tasks, and then they'll come and get you. And I can't even tell you, percentage, let's say 80% of the tasks you get blindfolded, or they tell you to keep your eyes shut, and you have someone leading you by your hand from your room to wherever you, because they want that that surprise element of you walking into the room or into whatever, a caravan full of balloons, and you just get that and so they want that reaction. So there's a lot of blindfolding going on set, but overall, you're alone the whole time till you get buddied up with someone right at the end. But it's quite weird as a comic to have this scenario where there's no feedback, because they try and keep it real quiet, real, sort of poker face. So you don't know, I'm nailing this or I'm not, because you think you're nailing everything. Like, I think every time I complete a task, I'm like, this is it. I've just nailed this. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah, and in one of, I can't remember now because there's been so much content happen, but with one of the earlier episodes, there was the whole keep the item floating, and they had all the buckets. Did that, when you saw those, was that confused when you saw the bucket dangling from the balcony? Did that confuse you?
Oh no, it didn't confuse me. It impressed me. I couldn't believe that never even crossed my mind. Not once. The minute he said, I read the thing, it says, make it float as long as possible. I thought, of course, I need to make a parachute. How else would you get down from a balcony? Yeah. How else would you make something float? And actually, in studio, I think that was in F1. That was the first thing we did.
Yeah.
And that was the first challenge we saw. So that was the first time that I saw how the others did, because we never talked about the show. There's a lot of confidentiality around it. So, and also you forget, like, you do 10 tasks a day by yourself. Wow. Even if you had to ask me that night, what did you do today? I can't remember. Yeah. I think there was fruit or vegetables involved and some balloons, and I jumped in a pond. That's, so when that started playing, they did my my challenge first with the parachute and Matt's, because a lot of the times you can see Matt Heath, who is the radio guy with us, him and I think the same, and I think it's
Yeah.
a generational thing. But so they showed ours first, and I was like, okay, so we're just going to see, 5 versions of this Brussels sprout floating down from homemade parachutes. But then when David Corrales came up, I was like, my mind was blown. I watched that and I just went, my brain is extremely limited.
Yeah.
You only use 2% of your brain. I think mine is like on 0.2. I couldn't believe it. And then I knew we were in for a ride on this show.
And on the official Taskmaster podcast, which I steal this idea from, Ed Gamble spoke to Dave Gorman about how it's like months from filming the in location, technically a location, on location tasks and in the studio. Does that help remember what you did when they read out the task when you're in the studio?
Yeah, so it's like when you're in trouble with your parents and they call you in and you're not sure which one of the things you did you're in trouble with. So you don't want to implicate yourself. So you're sort of waiting for your mom or dad to take the lead, and then they go, what happened in the pantry? And then you go, okay, we've narrowed it down to the kitchen, guys. So that's what you'll see every time they Paul starts talking, when the Taskmaster and his assistants start talking about the next task coming up. If they go, locked in the caravan or a puzzle in the caravan, we all just look at each other and usually grab our heads, because then you remember and it's like, oh no, not this task. And then you try, my brain was just scrambled going, what did I do? Do I know what's going to happen? And then we all sort of just look at each other and shake our heads, because then the realization dawned and you remember that you've done this weird task, and you sort of just try scramble and see, how bad, you wonder how bad you're going to look. It's amazing. Honestly, it's like this show has done more for me than 20 years of therapy. Just in terms of seeing how my brain works. I have no concept of risk assessment. I have no concept, because Tom, I'll tell you, just a side note, that didn't come out in the show and won't come out in the show because we're up to Ep9. During filming, I got a task and I broke my collarbone on set.
Oh,
because I have no risk assessment. But then after we started, we just went for lunch, because we're very close, all of us, and we went for lunch, and we were talking about what we did when I did that task, because the task was come up with something dumb, or the dumbest thing you can do, and for extra points, execute that dumb thing. So because we were on location, and it's like a farm. These rich people built this place where they were hoping to keep giraffes. We're in New Zealand. The wildest thing we have is a dog. So anyway, they wanted to keep animals there, and they've got a big driveway, a gravel driveway going down to that pond thing that's got a little lake attached to it. And then I built a ramp in the driveway, got on a bike, hit the ramp, and then fell off the bike and broke my collarbone and got a concussion. Then when I heard what the other guys did, I realized that mine was not, I don't think my accident was the reason they chose not to show that particular task. I think what David and Guy came up with is more why they decided not to show that task.
Wow, it's an interesting thing with Taskmaster, is that when you hear contestants talking about it, and I regret not asking Richard Herring when I spoke to him. He's just too busy with podcasts and so much to talk to him about. But it's interesting to see how you don't do so many different tasks and only a handpick get filmed. So it's hard to remember so much you did. Now, one thing that stays with you the entire series is your series outfit. How did you choose it? How did you come up with it?
I had the pink boots. It's pink safety boots that I got because I'm the ambassador for Western Australia Breast Cancer Foundation. So then I was like, I really like those pink boots. Let's work backwards from that. And then they go, we can get you a pink reflective. I went, let's just go, sort of workman's gear like a lollipop lady. And then that's it. I was like,
Yeah.
this is comfort. It's durable. And yeah, it was pretty good. And like it was great. Even after jumping, I put that outfit through a lot.
Yeah.
One whole outfit didn't make it. That got that got ripped up, but yeah, no, it was a good decision from me. And what was weird, because Laura also picked pink, so
Yeah.
we both had bright pink through the show. I'm like, way to go, to show it to the patriarchy. Both the ladies on the show go for bright pink for our
Yeah.
outfits.
Well, I think you had the best outfit in the series because all of them were just more like wearing like just normal things, apart from Guy. He decided to
Yeah.
wear Paul's face on his shirt, which is odd. It's borderline creepy. It's borderline.
Yeah.
You need
Oh no,
to
no, it's not
look away.
borderline. It is creepy.
Yeah, but did you before you did this series and before you got approached to say, "Oh, come on, do it"? Had you seen the original or any international version of Taskmaster beforehand?
Yes, I watched some eps when Rose Matafeo was on.
Yeah.
And I watched the first series here in New
Mm.
Zealand, and then I thought, oh, I really like it, because that's why I watched the first one, because I
Yeah.
watched the when Rose was on, and then I just thought it's such a bizarre concept, but it's so good,
Yeah.
And then I just got hooked on the first series here when Angela was on it,
Yeah.
and yeah. So when they asked me, I went, who else is on it? And not that it mattered because I was alone most of the time anyway, but
Yeah.
I just knew it was going to be insane with the others on it.
And what's good about the show, especially the New Zealand version, because the New Zealand version, the second, apart from the UK version, the second English speaking version that's really successful because the American one failed. But with it, it's what's good about it is that you learn about new comedians. So a lot of the New Zealand ones weren't as well known previously, but now they're really well known and they pop up everywhere. You see them and you won't get away from them ever again because they're in everything. And recently, you did a spelling bee for Guy Montgomery's YouTube channel.
Yes.
How did that go well for you? Was that a good experience, or did that feel like something different to Taskmaster, like in a sense of camaraderie, like gang being together again type thing?
Look, I mean, as for all of us being together again and just doing stuff, that was great. We've got a really strong team spirit. We back each other, and as you would see in that spelling bee at the end, we all just sort of bonded together and spelled the last word together. And sort of, I think Guy regretted having us on the spelling bee, but we warned him because we chat every single day.
Wow.
And he said we should do the spelling bee. I said, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm terrible at spelling. That is not a strength for me. And then all the others went, yeah, we're not very good at spelling. And on the night of the spelling bee, he said, I thought you guys were just taking the mickey out of me by saying you're not very good spellers. He goes, but it has been a long time that I got so many bad spellers. All of us sucked so bad.
Yeah. Well,
it was really bad.
yeah,
I mean, we probably had the opportunity to cheat, but I think you can see throughout that spelling bee we didn't.
Yeah. Well, I'm not very good at spelling either. I was saying to Bam and Larson, who was speaking English for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't very good at speaking English either. I'm not the best at anything really, because half the time I send messages and I don't understand what I've said because it makes no sense.
Yeah, but that you can always blame your phone for that.
Yeah,
because our phones have a mind of their own. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Now, going on now, we're going to crack on with series 2, episode 9, because it's another fantastic episode like this whole series, and obviously you're not allowed to tell me who wins because that'll be breaking NDAs and loads of contracts and that. So we'll try and steer away from that because we don't want anyone in trouble.
Lucky for you, Tom. I've got a really bad memory too, so I can't remember.
That's even better. And so from this series, my two favorite contestants is you and David, because David was just like crazy and just really mad, and you were there just being yourself and not worrying what was going on and just cracking on with it. And
Yeah.
and this episode really shows. Now we'll start with the prize task, but before that, I think it was Paul. I remember his name now. Paul decided to do another musical episode. Did you know that Paul was going to just randomly start tap dancing?
No, I had no idea. I didn't even know you could tap dance. When we sat down, they brought in this round, shiny floor, but just for in front of him so he could tap dance because, of course, it's carpet. And we were all like, what is happening? And then when he started dancing, because I had no idea. This is the first time that I'd worked with Paul.
Yeah.
I've worked with his brother Guy a fair bit over the years, but this is the first time I've worked with Paul. So I have no idea about his skill set at all.
Well, Paul's a man of mystery, and there was a recent connection between Paul and Alex Horn, who I also previously interviewed. So if you want to go and check that out, it's on the third channel. There'll probably be an eye or somewhere if you're watching the YouTube version. But they had a little connection the other day because Alex had quoted what Rose Matafeo had said about how she'd only just stumbled across the New Zealand version, and he had put how he likes Paul, and Paul decided to do something that wasn't saying thank you. It was saying on the board of where you can watch the original series on TVNZ on demand, which is the most funniest thing I think Paul's done outside of the show. And would you like to see Alex and Paul meet for an episode?
Yeah, I would actually.
Yeah, because it'd be quite fun. Now the prize,
I would like to be there so I can bully them, just some friendly banter.
Yeah, you and Angela are in the room together with Paul and Alex.
That was
That'll be chaos.
Yeah, poor Paul.
Yeah, it probably won't get aired because it'd be too chaotic. Now the prize task was to bring in the most editable. I'm not saying that word correctly at all. Looking item that isn't actually eatable. Like, I'll just say eatable.
Yeah. That you can't shove in.
Yeah. So David brought in petrol. Now, what were your thoughts when you saw that David had brought in some dangerous chemical that is petrol?
Well, first off, I thought, good on him for bringing the real thing, because I think it could eat through that plastic bottle. But it would be so easy to bring in a fake. Just put some apple juice in there. But he didn't. That was real petrol, and it had already leaked through 2 bottles. He was on his 3rd plastic bottle there. Wow. Poor production had to keep running to try and get the petrol in a bottle that it wouldn't eat through.
Wow.
So I was like, yeah. I mean, it wasn't. You couldn't consume that.
Yeah. Well, you'd be dead probably if you did.
Yeah.
But from how long? When do you get told about these prize tasks? So when do you get through to think about these in advance?
I got an email about them about 2 weeks before the show.
Ooh,
because I broke my collarbone, everything was compacted into. We filmed all the studio stuff in 5 days.
Wow.
So because we couldn't do anything for 6 weeks. And then when we got back, we sort of just packed everything into this 5 days. Yeah. So it's sort of really, bottlenecked at the end there. And then, so as soon as my shoulder healed, then we had to go back and do the group tasks and then go straight into studio, basically. So it was we didn't have a lot of notice on it. Yeah. Although Laura still managed to shine with every. I thought hers was the best every ep.
Yeah, a dog hat. I think it must have just been a dog hat, and I must have wrote the word hat twice. Because I thought, why not? Why not write the word hat twice?
Look, if you're going to do it once, you may as well do it twice.
Yeah. I surprise myself sometimes.
That's a good way. That's a good way. At least you keep your own life interesting.
Yeah. So Guy brought in glass jet plane,
Yeah.
and you brought in pineapple lumps. Now,
Yeah.
I think the red are eatable. Have you ever? I mean, do you think they're eatable, or what's
No,
your philosophy
they're
behind
awful.
them?
So pineapple lumps, if you don't know, it's just
Uh,
a little rectangle treat that's got chocolate on, so your eye goes, delicious. And then you put it in your mouth, and it's sort of a sticky, marshmallowy texture, and it's a pineapple flavor, but your brain kind of goes, this is trash, get it out of your mouth, what's happening to your face? But it is massive in New Zealand. Like, everyone loves it. If you ask a Kiwi to bring you a Kiwi treat, they're going to bring you this. I did a podcast with Russell Howard. There was this bag of stuff. I go, not pineapple lumps. He goes, yeah, they brought pineapple lumps. I go, what is your thoughts as a foreign man to our shores? What is your thoughts on pineapple lumps? He goes, it is disgusting. I go, yes, I wish I would stop giving it to foreign people. It really leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Like, it is a bad representation of New Zealand. There's so many great things here.
Yeah.
They've got so much better. Like, there's amazing chocolate. There's Whittaker's chocolate. If a foreign person comes, just give them a slab of Whittaker's chocolate and send them on their way. That'll make an impression. Don't give them this inedible, toughy crap it tastes like a bit of dishwashing liquid got into your lollies. That's what it tastes like.
Well, I don't like this. I heard it and thought, then saw it and thought, oh, that looks all right. But I don't like the idea of putting pineapple in chocolate, because when you eat pineapple on a pizza and that, pineapple's a lot more of a colder sort of scent, and chocolate's like, well, if you put it in the freezer, it'll be cold, but chocolate's not supposed to be freezing, so it just doesn't sound like something that you would want to eat. It sounds like something you would throw up.
The whole thing is just wrong. The texture, everything just says, get this out of you. You know how, like, with animals, they won't eat anything poisonous, and you go, how do they know? But that's if we listen to our bodies, you'd spit a pineapple lump out. But that, I knew that would get me in trouble with the New Zealand public. They did not like it. A few people went, how dare you? I mean, I'll say it again for the people in the back. Pineapple lumps suck.
I don't even want to. Well, I saw them, and you think that they look nice. So they're in I don't know. I can't remember the official name of them because I only saw them yesterday. But I don't know why I don't remember them. But there's mini rolls. I don't know if you've heard of mini rolls. No. Well, there's mini rolls. It's basically chocolate with inside of chocolate, and it looked like one of those. But
chocolate inside chocolate, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, well, it is. But the issue with those is that you can eat a packet in like 5 seconds because of that.
Sorry, I still don't know what the issue is, Tom. It's like there's a break between the UK and New Zealand, because it sounds like you said you can just eat a lot of chocolate, and I don't see the problem with that.
well, it's because these pineapple lumps looked really similar to these mini rolls. I'm thinking, oh, that looks nice. When you hear the word pineapple, you're thinking, you don't put pineapple in chocolate, let alone you wouldn't put anything in chocolate that doesn't work well with chocolate. So you wouldn't put gravy with chocolate.
No. I you know what? Any fruit like that, I think, just steer clear. Fruit shouldn't be around chocolate. If you can't handle chocolate by itself, you don't deserve chocolate.
Well, strawberries and chocolate.
Well, strawberries is pretty good, actually. Those two go. Okay, with the exception of strawberries.
Yeah. And then Matt brought in Urinal Cakes, which obviously I knew what one was. I hadn't seen one in a while because you don't just come across them in your average bathroom. No. But I want to know, what's a glass jet plane? What's that, if you know?
Okay, so I do. So jet planes, again, a lolly. It's a New Zealand jelly lolly. But then artists made little jet planes, so it looks just like the jelly lollies. And a few kids and adults, I'm not ashamed to say I've put my mouth on a glass one, but they've made these glass art ones that you can
Yeah.
just put, on your shelf or whatever, and it looks just like them. So he brought one of those in. Obviously,
yeah, because some glass you can eat, not actual glass, but the glass you put on cake. So I had a birthday cake once that had glass windows and I'd never eaten cake glass, not actual
Oh
glass.
yeah,
If you eat
that's
actual
sugar glass.
yeah, because if you eat
Yeah.
actual glass, you'll be bleeding from the mouth.
Yeah,
And-
hopefully.
yeah. And so David got 4 points. Guy got 3 points. Laura got 2 points. Yourself got 2 points, and Matt got 5 points. Would you agree with that scoring? If you were Jeremy Wells, would you have chosen that scoring?
Look, I think, I mean, I knew it was going to go that way, so I'm not surprised by it. I knew that I could have gone for anything. I could have picked a rock. I could even have put a shoe in there, but sometimes you got to make a statement, Tom. It's not always about being right. It's a bit, or making the popular choices. It's about making the hard choices and getting the message out there that your lollies suck.
Yeah, I just think it's like Jeremy's got very good understanding of how to be really strict, but I don't think he understands that pineapple really doesn't work with chocolate. So he should have given
Look,
that.
I mean, honestly, I was robbed a few times of the points over the last few episodes. People have reached out and said their piece, and I totally agree. And on the night, they obviously edited out, but I put up a good fight. Every time the points come, we argue. All of us argue with him for about 20 minutes about the points, but no go. He doesn't budge.
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to get Greg Davis, the UK Taskmaster, to watch them all and then make his verdict, and then we know then he'll probably give you 5 points.
Yes, especially if he's tasted them before.
Well,
I could probably get bonus points.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, that would actually be really interesting if Greg could score it.
Yeah.
We don't just mute the points on Jeremy's points on this side, and then he has to make up his mind. We see who is really cheated.
Because Greg Davis did make an appearance in series 1 of Taskmaster New Zealand.
Yeah.
And so we know that Greg does know the existence of this version. So all we need is now a YouTube exclusive video of him just giving everyone better points than Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we move now on to task number 1, which is a team task, the first team task of the episode. Now, was this filmed? When did you film this task? Because sometimes they get. Was this film? Did you film the rest of the series before this one?
Yeah. The team tasks were right at the end.
Yeah.
Just before we went into studio.
Yeah. So it was to steal the Taskmaster's portrait. Most elaborate heist wins. Now I said this to Sam Ward, who is the task writer and best friend to Paul and Guy Williams, which he told me, which is something that you don't hear every day. And he was very glad that I said this, but the very original tasks, these tasks are ones you're never going to see anywhere else, and I hope not, because these need to just stick where they are because they're original. Because I was saying to Babylon, because it's a ranch, and the grass is a lot bigger than a small little house on the high street next to traffic lights, which is not the best place to be filming near traffic lights or in traffic lights, to be precise. So you got a lot more room to do this. Now you were with Matt, like Joel Brand was with David Baddiel. They put the older ones together and the feisty young ones together, which was Guy, Laura, and David. Now, how did you, watching them, what was your initial thoughts when you saw Guy, Laura, and David do the task?
Oh, look, I mean, I was just, as soon as because it's a natural fit, the three of them, because they're already close. They do improv together. Look, I mean, I knew we were in trouble. But I also thought that Matt and I would be able to keep a cooler head, and that we potentially could win all of the tasks.
Yeah.
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 Because David is always the loose cannon in that.
Yeah.
And which could work in their favor,
Hmm.
but he's like a savant, man. Because he's so smart.
Yeah.
So if he puts his mind to it, he's just we're in deep trouble.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about that Matt Heath is that because he's close friends with Jeremy doing the radio show, and then I think then doing the podcast, or I think the radio show is the podcast. It's either way around, and it's interesting because doing this podcast and watching the series, I ended up doing some research to see how their connection was Taskmaster related thing, and they've got really good connection. That I quite like how Jeremy always bullies Matt because it's like they're friends and they can call each other horrible names and say, "Oh, you're rubbish," because blah and blah and blah. Well, I do that to my brother, so I mean, if you're allowed to do it with friends, you can do it with family as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and so Guy, Laura, and David ended up playing different characters, which is something that I think that they're very good at, because there was I think it was the film how we had to make like where you can only play yourself. That was another good task because it was good because you're all, apart from Matt, very good at playing different characters. Is Matt a stand-up comedian normally?
No, he doesn't do stand-up, but he's like an award-winning musician, animator. He does his animated series that have won so many awards. And he's done television with Jeremy for years and years. So he's been in it and he's a columnist. He just does everything around it, but doesn't actually do stand-up. We were going to do a stand-up show a couple of nights ago on Friday night. We just rescheduled it. So we're forcing him to do a bit of stand-up. And we had dinner or lunch with him to try and get him to, because he'll MC it for us.
Yeah.
He's a natural in front of a crowd.
Yeah, because when you watch him do tasks, you can sort of see that he understands comedy enough just to like slightly enter comedy, because stand-up's one of those things that it's hard to because it's stand-up's now massive. That was an explosion sound effect for any people who didn't understand that noise. And it's like hard. It's even harder to get into. Well, I don't know from experience because I'm only just writing my first ever stand-up piece.
Exciting.
Because I've got my own. You wouldn't have known. I've got my own YouTube comedy club, which is called Tom's Comedy Club, where I decide to do a sitcom, but not as a regular sitcom, just as me putting on random voices because I don't remember the same voice for the same. It's one character, but he's got like 4 different voices every episode. I'm not very good at remembering the same voice. And so it's like it's like changing each episode. You don't know which voice you're gonna get that episode. But I mean, was stand up easy for you to get into? Did you know what you wanted to do with stand up?
No, I accidentally got into it. I used to work in advertising as a designer and a photo retoucher. And my friend Leon, who lives in the UK, he's the one that said, "Oh, you have to go do stand-up." And he actually booked it in. I'd never even been to a stand-up show. I knew nothing about comedy. My first show that I ever went to was the first show I ever did. And then, I just... As a work thing, I sort of went and there were 70 of my colleagues that came and I just did 4 minutes, and people were laughing, and then I thought that was it. But then the owner of the club said, "No, I got a call the next day to say that I'm through to the next round." And apparently they run these competitions once a year to look for new talent. And I had made it through to the semi-finals. I went, "Oh no, thanks." And then he said, "You should come. You're really funny." He said, everyone was laughing. I said, "Mate, I knew 70 people in your audience. That's why everyone was laughing. The odds were stacked in my favor." And he's like, "Yeah, but I don't know you." And I was laughing. He goes, "You should come back and do it again." And I thought, because I don't like to miss opportunities, I like to go for stuff. And I thought, yeah, okay. I didn't even tell Leon that I was going back. I just went back, did it again. And then, but after the second one, I was hooked. I thought, this is great. You tell jokes and people laugh, and the adrenaline rush you get from that, and it's just amazing. So I just kept going back, and then after a year I had to give up my job in advertising because comedy was just taking over. And I just kind of go where it takes me. I try not to fight it. I'm like a salmon in the water, but a lazy salmon. I'm going with the stream.
Yeah. And what's good about Taskmaster for especially like international versions of Taskmaster and British people seeing it is that your fan base would go from being just New Zealand or wherever, just now being a lot more bigger because you're on this show that's not the New Zealand one might not be as big as the UK version, but because it's a well-known franchise and like internet websites like Reddit and well, Reddit, because Facebook doesn't have one, but Reddit has been talking about it non-stop. So you've now got like a new army of fans. You'll be able to have a comedy battle, and millions of people will end up rocking up from around the world. Because when they announced your stand-up thing with the New Zealand law, a lot of the British people were a little bit upset that they couldn't go to New Zealand to watch you because they really enjoyed you on the show, which is quite good because then you get more of an audience than you would have if you weren't on this, which is quite good. But with the team task for task one, I think it was one of the best team tasks I think you had done because it was just funny from start till finish. Because you had just decided to turn the lights out, but did they have a light on still? Because the lights weren't out. Were the main lights out?
All the lights were out. There's a window in the top, like a skylight type of thing, and it was daytime, or late afternoon.
Yeah.
So what you can see is actual light from outside. But no, we killed all the lights.
Yeah.
And then I put chloroform over Paul's face so he could pass out, and that was actually the first task that we did together. Matt and I. That was the first one. And we laughed so much. We had to stop a couple of times because his glasses kept fogging up. Because we kept falling over the lasers that we set.
Yeah.
It's not, like we were in charge of the lasers. No one says how to set the room up. And we made it so high we couldn't get over
it. Because several times you would hit them. And I quite like with this series, there's a lot of editing involved. And I quite like how they had edited it to make it look like they had just appeared out of nowhere when everyone really knows that you spent hours trying to put them up and then you spent another... Did you have to take them down again or did the crew take it down?
No, production took it down. They had to kind of hustle because we used Paul as one of the pillars to keep the lasers up. And I think we went a bit tight on some of them and he was losing feeling.
Oh, that's just not... you wouldn't want to injure Paul. Well, you might.
He loved it. You could tell. You could tell in his eyes. He didn't verbalize, but you could tell he was holding in laughter most of the time.
Yeah, it must be very hard because all the assistants have to keep a very, very stable face, and on the inside they're like, we need to get this over and done with quickly and stop filming because I might pass out. Yeah. And so your team got 4 points and the first team got 2 points. And then we moved on to task 2. But before we get on to it, now in the shed, was there, because there's a shed in every version, even if that country might not even know what a shed is, there's still a shed. Or as I like to call it, a getaway house. And was there an actual fish poster in the shed? Because that was a running gag that
Yeah.
Rose did. So was that just there because you'd seen the UK version and put it in just or was that or is that
No,
all?
there was a fish poster in there. And I don't think I've been into a New Zealand house without seeing a fish poster. You know, those fish posters are everywhere.
Yeah. Wow.
Even at you go anywhere, you try and go get fish and chips, or my local chippery's got one. They're just everywhere. I was in my garage. I think I've got one right now. I don't fish.
Wow. Is it because there's so many different type of fish? You need a poster to remember the different type of.
Yeah, I don't know what the thing is. I remember when I lived in the States years ago, they had the equivalent, but with dogs, different breeds of dogs. A few times I'd go into other people's homes and they'd have this dog poster in the laundry or in the garage, and I'm like, how important is it to you to know other people's breeds of dogs? And this is New Zealand's got the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, for dogs, all they need to do, or I don't know if the US air it, but they might need to turn on Crufts because that's a dog show. You must see every breed of dog. I don't think you need a poster when you can watch a
yeah.
program where dogs compete against each other.
Honestly, now if you live suburban, it's probably something schnoodle, or
Yeah, because they're all crossbreeded these days.
yeah,
Then we went on to task 2. Now, task 2 was start on the wait. Yeah. I'm not going to go into in the words because I've probably written wrong
yeah.
because it was too many instructions all at once. How did you understand this task? Because there's so many instructions all at once. How does your brain focus on which direction you're going to turn?
Wait, which one was this?
This was the one where there was like a female whale. You had to stand on the, you had to find the little blob. You had to turn east and then turn west.
Oh yes, the map, the
Yeah,
directions one.
the direction one
So I think here again, Matt and I sort of had the same thing. Like I knew where north was,
yeah,
just because I live in the area, you kind of know, and the
yeah,
north has the North Shore with a bridge, so you kind of know. Um, and then I just kind of, because it's all like 3 links of a blue whale and the beehive, which is our parliament
yeah,
building. And, so you kind of have to go, well, how high would that be? And in my mind, I thought, I didn't really know directionally where I was going, but I thought, where would be better for them to film from?
yeah,
And all the cameras and everything was just there where we started around the caravan. And I thought, all these directions sound like they're taking me back because you go north and then east and then I'm like, oh, they're making me do a big square. I'm going to go back to more or less where I was. And then I thought, I'm sure it's right here by the cow, which is near the caravan. So I just tried to get the umbrella in there. That umbrella is broken, by the way, which
wow,
they don't show you that we're working with a broken umbrella. And Matt, he couldn't be bothered. He just immediately went, I'm sure this is a trick. It's right here. And he just put the umbrella back where he started from. And then that's how he got closest. And I got second closest because we just kind of went, someone's trying to trick us. And we were right.
yeah,
But at least I walked it out. Matt just went, nah, it's going to be right here. But I just directionally, if I read all the instructions, I'm like, oh, they're taking me back in a big
yeah.
square, right back to where I started from.
Yeah, and I was watching the task and I was thinking, well, with my knowledge of maths, I would be lost, confused, and I would have no idea what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
even if I had to pretend like I knew what I'm doing, because it's what I do sometimes, I'll
Yeah.
probably I'll probably be nowhere near the house at this point. I'll be like, I'll be in the middle of the main road because it's my maths is well,
Yeah.
I'm not very good at. I'm the worst person at maths in the world. It's like when I watch Countdown or
Yeah.
or any version of Countdown, I watch it and think, no, I don't know that answer. And if I was there, I would only be there for comic relief because I'm not very good at
Yeah.
maths. I'm not very good at letters either. Uh, and so you
See,
got
that's creative. That's what I say. I'm not bad at math. I'm just creative, so I don't need to be good at math.
yeah, because doing stuff like what I do, like this, and all the other
Yeah.
nonsense I get up to in my life, I don't need to. I don't need to remember maths, but then I put myself in situations where I do need to remember maths, and it's my own fault. And so you did it in 6 meters and 6 meters 6. David did it in 10 meters 52. Guy did it in 30 meters 57. Laura did it in 30 meters 37. And Matt got it like very, very close. So it's like milliseconds because
I do think that one I was. What surprised me about that task is how Laura and Guy didn't know how to use a compass.
yeah.
And I thought obviously they didn't do, like Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or any type of survival thing at all. I didn't think about asking for a compass, that's on me.
Yeah.
Relying on my own, a lot of things I realized I could have asked Paul and I didn't, and the younger generation did. But if I did ask for a compass, I at least would have known how to use it. So I did judge them for that, and I mentioned that to them on the night.
Well, I don't know if once you take it away from a magnet it affects, but I think the compass was a little bit faulty because you need magnet.
Yeah. But even if it wasn't, neither of them knew how to use it.
Yeah, that's a good thing because I'm in the UK Scouts world because well, apart from my dad, everyone else does Scouts. So even though we do it all the time, I still don't know how to use a compass. So even with that knowledge, because I don't. It's just like you stand in one direction, it just turns to your direction, and it's the most confusing thing in the world. So, do you know how to use a compass? So, if you had thought to ask on about a compass, would you have got it nailed on?
Yeah, I mean, I still wouldn't have gotten the measurements right.
Yeah.
Like the numbers would have still confused me, but at least directionally, I would have nailed it.
Yeah. And so the episode points so far after only 2 tasks was Matt was on 14 points, Laura was on 6 points, Guy was on 6 points, David was on 9 points, and you were on 10 points. Which means you're in second place to win the episode. Now we go on to task 3, which was take Paul on the perfect date. Now this is another excellent task, quite similar to the holiday task from series 1. It's another good task. So what was your thinking behind this task? What were you thinking when you read out the task?
As soon as I read it, I thought, oh, blimmin' hell. This is just like mini holidays for Paul that we have to, take him on, and I thought it was unfair. I wanted to have a relaxing time. No, as soon as I read it, I thought, all right, I gotta I have to get him a cookie or something because Paul loves cookies. He's an absolute cookie fiend. He loves cookies. So I got him a big I got him a big like pie sized cookie.
Yeah.
But then I thought, like we've been on this journey, Paul and I, and it's no point in me now pivoting and getting all romantic with Paul.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of keep going with our energy the way we had it. And I thought, what a better way to go on a date to truly get to know yourself. And because if you can't love yourself, how can other people love you? So I put Paul in a kayak and I sent him out on the pond, which may or may not have feces in it. And then I gave him the cookie and I told him to paddle himself out. And because he doesn't drink at all, but I had a cocktail out of a pineapple. And then, I just let him spend some time with himself while I spent some time with myself because I thought that's the perfect date. There's no pressure. No one's needy. There's no awkward conversation. You're doing what you want to do and spending some time with yourself with your favorite treat. And I'm spending. So I did forget to give him his juice. I did pack him a juice.
That would have made it more happier.
And then he got halfway through the date. I was already on my second cocktail, and he said, "I'm thirsty too." And I remembered about the juice, so I threw it into the pond for him. I tried to get him to him, but he couldn't catch it, and it sort of sunk. It's still in the pond today.
Wow. Paul doesn't seem like an athletic type person. He doesn't seem like the type of person that would be able to catch from that distance.
He plays basketball. I thought he'd be all over it. Yeah.
Well, in water, yeah, the idea of water is trying not to fall in it. So
Yeah.
I think it's like canoes and kayaks. They're both the same thing in my eyes. For me, it's one of those things where you say you do like an activity or you have to get to that end. For me, I end up just going around in a circle all the time. And my parents are watching and coming over to try and push me out, and they push me out further enough, and I'm thinking, oh, I can do this now, and then realize I'm in a circle again. I'm trapped back in the boss, and so it's really hard. But what's really good about this series is anytime you're near water, it's just comedy gold. It's just hilarious because you don't expect you don't expect these tasks are just gonna appear near water, and then when they do, it just makes the episode better because that water really does look off. It really
Yeah,
looks.
no, it is not a. I'm glad those people didn't get the giraffes because as you go down, you start to smell the pond.
Yeah. Well, luckily enough, I can't smell, so if I was there, I would not be able to smell a dicky bird.
Yeah,
It'd be
well, you'd be perfect for that show then.
yeah. And so David was really sweet, but Matt
Yeah.
keeps on singing. Do you know? Is this because it's the only thing Matt thinks of doing? First of all, I'll just sing the song out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, he, you know, like if you think back, you know, serenading someone is sort of supposed to be romantic. Personally, I thought it, you know, like I think the thought of someone singing to me on a first date with a guitar in a bath filled with ice cold water is cringeworthy. Like I would. As soon if you show up to a first date and there's a guy sitting in his underpants in the bath with a guitar and telling you to get in, I'm like, I have to go find the police. Like,
Yeah.
but
Restraining
you know,
order.
yeah, to him, he wrote him a little song. He thought it would be romantic and didn't take into consideration the amount of creep factor that's going to come out of that song.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Matt seemed like a really nice person, but when he's on screen, he seems like a sort of person that the parents just say, "I don't go near this person."
Yeah,
Or son or whoever, just step away, please. We don't
yeah.
want you near him.
I
Because
think Matt would warn his own kids about him on that show too.
yeah, his kids probably watch it thinking, that's not my dad. That's not how I know him. I'm a little bit concerned now.
I'm telling you, this show brings things out in you where you go, why am I doing this? But you can't help it because we're so competitive and we want that reaction,
Yeah.
you know, and because it's all silent, it is a next level of weirdness that comes out of you.
It's at the end of the day, you'll win a selection of prizes that you didn't know you wanted.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because what I was saying, because in Taskmaster Sweden, in the first episode, because they keep adding prizes to the prize pool that they call
Yeah.
it, they had a helmet with a banana on it, and now I saw that and thought, oh, that's funny, but I also thought that would suit Matt really well when he sat in the bastard with a just trying to be a Viking but with bananas on his head. That would just fit him to the team. It'll just make him think, right, we might need to get him some help. I don't think he's all right. He might need.
No, no. A few people actually have sent him some emails with diagnosis for him.
Wow.
It was really. I said to him, I said, these people are rude. Don't listen to them. I couldn't believe he said, oh, he got all these messages from people saying, you definitely have ADHD or you definitely have this. I go, I don't know if that's a real therapist that they should just watch a TV show and give you a diagnosis based on that. I said, don't you worry about that. He goes, no, there's definitely stuff wrong with me. Some of the stuff have been diagnosed. I go, just lean into it. That's your strength now.
He's now called the person that gets too many emails. I mean, it'd be a good segment for the radio show.
Yeah, I said to him, just read out some of those emails that you've received over the last few weeks. It's so funny.
Yeah, and it could be a segment called "People are worried about Matt."
Yeah, diagnosing Matt.
Yeah, yeah, they get him on the phone going, yeah, I don't think you're all right. I think you've got a selection of illnesses. I'll go through them with you right now, if that's all right, if you get enough time on air. But then Laura decided to play some sports. Now knowing that Paul plays sports, I'm a little bit confused why he wasn't very good at playing sports with Laura. Do you
I
know why?
think because she was again going for the 1980s romantic comedy, stand real close to me,
Yeah.
let's do this. And he was like, no. But I have to applaud all of these youngsters on the show. Laura phoned Paul's girlfriend to get permission for some of the stuff that she did.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm gonna do this spaghetti thing, like in Lady in the
Oh
Tramp,
yeah.
and kiss him at the end. Is that okay? And then she checked with Paul before they did it. I'm like, yeah, we're all about consent here. I'm so full on consent. I didn't even want to be near him. So I think a lot of people can learn a lot from the show. It's all about consent and keeping your distance.
And people because with series one we had Angela Dravid, who was the sort of person that was like everyone thought, is she all right? But there's always someone in the two series that we've had so far that you've had to consciously worry about, because in series one we had the bit where we had Paul, where we had to make the mum proud, and so Paul decided to be the mother and then gave birth to Ursula, which is really, really bizarre. But what I've noticed on the Reddit thing, I'm not up to date with modern things. I'm like an 80-year-old inside. And so a lot of people were like comparing you to Angela because of like the type of thing. But I don't see the similarities. You're just your own person, and Angela's just in the same league as Matt. You need to make sure they're all right and just get them.
Yeah.
They might need
Yeah,
help.
look, I don't mind being compared to Angela or Angela to me, because I think she's amazing.
Yeah, well, she was up there with one of the best contestants in series one, but then you trumped it. So you're one of the best contestants in the New Zealand Taskmaster history, which there isn't a lot of history of it. Hopefully,
Yeah, I was like, we're second series.
yeah.
I'll take it though. I'll take it.
Hopefully, they're the third series.
Yeah.
Fingers
I mean, honestly, it's
crossed.
very popular, so
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if there isn't.
Well, we all hope. So in that task, Matt got 2 points, Laura got 4 points, Guy got 5 points, David got 3 points, and yourself got 1 point. Wait,
Yeah,
do you
which
agree? Do you agree with that?
no, I thought I should have had 5. I definitely higher than Matt, I thought, because I didn't put Paul through sitting in my, underpants juice in a outside bath filled with ice water. Yeah, I definitely think mine should have been a bit higher.
Yeah.
You could see Paul was uncomfortable with, like, to me, Guys was perfect. He went everywhere. He made his favorite soccer team win. He even got him a cab at the end. So yeah, I think Guys was great. Then I think I should have been next, because mine, you could see Paul was just, he was in no point, he was in danger of anything. He was just spending time with himself, which, it's like meditating. If he didn't have a good time, it's because he didn't like his company. So I should then have had 4 points.
Yeah, and
So I was wrong.
I sort of agree, because if I was judging them, and I was going off the comedy element alone, we don't care if the task was done correctly, because there's apparently, according to Alex, there's always a way to, there's always a solution, but we don't care about the solution. We only care about the comedy element, and I would have given you the 5 points just for the comedy element alone. We're not bothering whether it was a task. It was just really funny, and it was priceless. And I can see in a few years' time someone finding it, putting on its own TV show called "How Many Times Can Ursula Make People Laugh?" And I'd be like,
I'll take it, Tom. I'll take the 5 points and the show.
So then we went on to task number 4, which is done done this tie and then leave the room. Oh yeah, put on this tie.
Yeah.
I think I spoke to the iPad when I said that. So I think the Apple product thought I said done. Or put on this tie, then leave the room, then come back in the room wearing the tie in a brand new way. Now,
Yeah.
before we get on to talk about what you did, we'll start off with talking about what David did. David decided to trick us all by painting the tie
Yeah.
onto his body, and then the tie ended up being somewhere else, which we won't
Yes.
mention where it went because we're in a family-friendly channel over here. We do everything in the family-friendly zone according to YouTube guidelines. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you had ever seen David stand up, you wouldn't be surprised where he was wearing the tie. Um, I mean, there was only so much you could do with the tie, and I think it sort of it says a lot every time when they take the kid off. You kind of go, that is the. I mean, he in one of the previous episodes, he took it off. He could take his kid off in like 0.7 seconds. So this is a time limited task again. We're 10 minutes, which isn't a lot to come up. Like I don't know of any other designer that can come up with a concept in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, he took his kid off, painted a tie, and then put the tie back on.
Yeah, but I think that if we ever did a New Zealand version of that program when they go into people's houses, I don't know what it's called. It's some MTV rubbish, and they go into people's houses, and I think in his cupboard he would have a lot of Velcro related clothes. Like the Velcro stuff.
Oh yeah,
he probably have a lot of that, so that he could go on any TV show and just go ba-da-da-da-ba.
Yeah, he's our magic Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy did a similar thing. He did the exact same thing, but he didn't paint the tie on himself, which I thought was unoriginal, and it just wasn't as funny because
I think that Guy's was a little frightening because his tie was flesh colored. It was a bad color tie. At least like mine was bright, and everyone had a bright. Laura had a blue one, I had a bright red one. But because Guy's was the same as his skin color, it was frightening when he revealed his tie. Like they needed some flowers on there or something to make it less frightening.
Yeah. Luckily, this show isn't for young children. They won't be going to bed with nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want any because if you get a certain amount of complaints, they might think not to air that episode ever again or do a report where they cut that out, which wouldn't work. So leave it as it is, but it would scare children. Now, you made a hat out of it, and I was quite curious to know what your thoughts behind it because everyone else just did something very simple and you just went out there and went bold and went woohoo, we're having a party.
Yeah. I just thought, especially toilet paper is such a huge thing. So I thought, as soon as I saw the tie, I thought I'll make like a hat for the races, go big. So I just stacked it in a circle and then tied the tie through that. There was a bit of hot glue gun for the up one, which I think fell off before I walked into the room, and then just tied the tie around it because you can go really tight. I just thought, as soon as I saw it, I thought I could either just wear it like a normal tie, but that's not very, imaginative. So I thought I'll go a hat. I'll go a big hat because I saw just before, because we had just had lunch and then I went to the bathroom to wash my hands and they had just dropped off a big pack of toilet paper. So as soon as I saw the task and they said do it a different way, I thought, I'll just make a hat with all that toilet paper that I saw. And again, a time constraint. 10 minutes is not a lot of time.
No,
your brain just goes, grab what you just saw, So
and it's with the human brain in itself. You panic when you have a time, and with like you have like 100 and odd days to do whatever. It's like, oh yeah, but you need to remember what you need to do. And with with having 10 minutes, your brain just goes, quickly, and you're like a headless chicken running around, and then you forget a lot of things. And it's quite surprising how in that 10 minutes you made something that was more elaborate and better than what Matt did, because Matt decided to put his tie on his fingers, which I just think just made no sense and didn't. It just thought it sounded like he just walking out of the room, got some scissors and chopped it in half, and thought, I don't know what I'm doing, and then just whipped it on his fingers because
I almost feel like that could have been the exact same words that left Matt's mouth. I don't know what I'm doing.
I wish there was a behind the scenes special so we could see Matt's reaction every time he only had a few seconds to do a task.
Yeah, I reckon they could do a whole other 10 episodes after this, like behind the scenes ep 1, behind the scenes ep 2, because there's so much that went on there, that I would like to see again, and stuff that David did, because after this show, he had to go have back surgery for a collapsed disc in his back. Like, it was just insane. Like, we just went nuts on the show.
Yeah. Now we're gonna move away from this episode really quickly because there's one of the so in the first series there was a task where they had to wear a costume under the normal clothes and they had to do the studio day and you're in like a locker room, and I quite liked how they brought that format back where you had a certain amount of days or until the next event, and I quite like the Abraham Lincoln task. Now, what was going through your mind when you got the text message on the Nokia 3310?
Okay, so that challenge again, they got those phones. They had those phones for 2 months because I was supposed to get that phone. That was the last task that I was supposed to do on the day that I broke my collarbone. The second last task of the day was me breaking my collarbone, so I never got the phone. So I only had the phone for like a day and a half before that task came through, because then I had to go back. I did. So they had been carrying these burner phones, making them look like drug dealers for 2 months. And had to keep them charged and always, ready with a phone.
You got the easy.
And then I just got my phone, but I was on tour. So I left New Zealand and I went over to Australia, and I was in Newcastle, which is in New South Wales, when I got the text. And so it's sort of a text and say, with a task on it. And there's no costume shops in New South Wales. I couldn't get anything. I was just driving around in my rental looking for a place, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to come up with something. And I went back to the hotel, and a part of me thought, I'll just sit this task out. I'll just get disqualified for this task. And then I thought, no way, I got it, because I got to go in. And then I thought, I'll just take the sheet off the bed and I'll just be dead Abraham Lincoln. He's dead. So I was his ghost. So I just dialed in and just sat there with the sheet over my head, being dead Abraham Lincoln. And personally, I think I should have won that task because he is dead.
Well, he is, and it was a fun task, but it's even funnier now thinking back to it now, knowing that like how quickly it happened for you, and it's even funnier because it's like David and Guy bumped into each other just by accident, and they've had, and it is funnier because you've got an easier route, but then it was also hard at the same time because you didn't have access to the array of costumes to turn into Abraham Lincoln. But it's a task that you wouldn't think New Zealand would come up with in itself, because Abraham Lincoln's an American figurehead. Well, figurehead, it was more of a dead figurehead now, but you just wouldn't think it would be something New Zealand would do. But it just works so well, and it utilizes the because they did it in series 4, I think, or the UK version. They were on a video call with Fred the Swede, and so the video call idea works really well because then you can do unlimited things, because you can be anywhere in the world and randomly it's better that you weren't on the middle of a tube or any travel with other people around thinking, what am I going to do? I'm on this thing. I don't want to look like a right weirdo dressing up as Abraham Lincoln in public. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a really good task to see. But going back, yeah.
I just think Matt's was because he was out drinking with mates and he had to put a traffic cone on his head. I'm like, you were in the city, you had access to everything and ended up with a traffic cone on your head.
Well, a lot of drunk people do end up with traffic cones on their heads in the first place.
That's right.
So you can blame the alcohol, not his own ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should have been disqualified. I think they should have just disqualified him because he was drunk. Well, you would hope well, you wouldn't hope he was, but it just what it was. But going back to the episode at hand, the points were Matt had 5, Laura got 1, Guy got 2, David got 1, oh no 3, and you got 4. And then the episode scores so far for that was that Matt ended up being on 21, you were on 15, along with David. Guy was on 13, and Laura was on 11. Now, we move on down to the live task. Now, the live tasks are a lot. So how is that filmed? Because for when you look at it, you have the studio as it is with the chairs that way, but then it all just it's a state. Does the camera just move to a different angle because it looks like you're in a different position than you are normally?
No, so that screen that we watch all our tasks on when we're sitting on the ground, that's a slidey screen. So that opens up and the stage is behind it.
Yeah.
So and then so when he says we're going to do the live one, then we all get up and we walk to the stairs. Then we have to wait because then the screen slowly opens, like painfully slowly.
Yeah.
And then they just rejig the cameras and they because I don't put anything out beforehand, so they don't give anything away. So we don't know what the task is.
It's all hush hush.
And then the cameras go up there. We usually get makeup touched up and then we go up. Yeah. And then we get the envelope from Paul.
Yeah. And I think live tasks are really good. But when I end up writing notes for them in any sense, it's a nightmare because it all happens at once. I'm like, make sure I get it all down and don't miss anything. Then I don't get in trouble off my loyal viewers because then they don't moan at me for missing off key information. When I did, I think it was episode 1. It must have been. I had thought that David had gone out the caravan when he wasn't supposed to, but then my viewer was like, "No, it was all right. The task was over." And as they start typing detail, I try not to get screwed up because or else they'll drive me around the bend with the comments. But we are a very nice public. Don't worry, I'm not horrible to my loyal viewers. And so the task was, in your teams, create a famous scene from New Zealand history from the for the Taskmaster. After the Taskmaster has guessed your favourite scene, you may recreate another. You can only speak 4-letter words. Now, I wrote down the 4-letter words, or every time there was a word used. So hopefully this makes sense, because to me it looks like it makes no sense whatsoever, but I've seen the show, so I understand. So team 1 was Guy, Laura and David. Their words were free atom bomb, snap vote, no words, and then sometimes they didn't use words, so I wrote no words used. They had but what was your thoughts when you first heard the task being read out? What did you think? Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do?
No, as soon as, because again, we don't know what it is. You have to run up to Paul, look on his iPad, and then there's just the words that you have to do, like, the nuclear-free New Zealand. Then you have to, atom bomb. So you don't know what you're going to get. And I was really nervous because I don't know that much about New Zealand history. I didn't grow up here. Like, obviously you sort of absorb some of it in the time, and I read, so you kind of go, I've got a bit of a clue, but if they go too deep I won't know. So I was a little bit nervous, and then when I saw how the young'uns did it, and they just came out firing, because again, improv group, they work together, they sort of know each other's vibe, they kind of, it's an unspoken thing. And I was a little bit nervous, because if you had seen how Matt is with every task, he's an overthinker. So our approach to everything's completely different. I don't overthink anything. The sunscreen task would have taught you that. I just go out and do it. Whereas he is, he's meticulous. He wants to think about stuff. And a few times I had to say to him, no, with a group task, we're done. Let's go. And we just wrap it up. So I was a little bit nervous. But then as soon as we started, we just kind of, went with it. It was really good.
Now, you can obviously you can't say for episode 10, but out of the episodes that have aired so far, what was your favorite live task that you had done, if you remember?
Hands down, painting Jeremy's mum.
Yeah. Have you ever met Jeremy's mum?
No.
You were just going in blind, not knowing what shot.
Yeah, but just he was cracking up quite a bit during the thing because he's quite dry balls, like with his sense of humor, and so he would just start talking about his mum. She's a lady, played netball. She's Cheryl, and so like we would crack him up just with the paintings. But again, it was real fast. You sort of just had to do it. There's no time to overthink. You have to paint with both hands, and then it was just crazy what came out, so that one was my favorite.
One of my favorites was when you had to put your nose in the cardboard. You had to draw yourself because it's you were very good at drawing on that one, and because what's really interesting is that like the rest of you, not David included, were all really quiet and concentrating about it, and then David was just like having a panic attack and going and then it would have been even funny if he fell over.
He malfunctioned. He broke 2 pens. He just, he was just all over the place. It was hard to focus, trying to keep, it going and not to look to the side what was going on because he was just all over the show and he was kicking the board and holding the board and it was crazy.
Yeah, and this task was, it was fun, but from my point of view. And I'm probably in a worse boat than you. I know nothing about New Zealand history at all, so I was more of a interested in just the way they were acting it out and the words they were saying more than the exact history because I wouldn't know what they were on about. And were you a little bit? Did you just like let Matt like take lead on this task because of your lack of knowledge of New Zealand history?
Initially, I said that to him. I said, I hope you're up to scratch with your history because I don't know anything. But then as soon as I went, oh no, I know this one. And we were just switch on to each other immediately. It just, we didn't struggle with any one of them except for the last one, the dolphin one. But we didn't struggle at all. As soon as we saw it, like, this, and we didn't even need to discuss. It's like we'd been in this improv troupe together for years. We just turned and started doing it immediately, and we both just knew what the other one was going to do. It was really weird. It's like we'd been doing it for years and years at festivals around the world.
Now we come to the end of the episode. Now the series scores so far is Laura's on 100 and Laura was. I'm going to say is because it's still airing. Laura is on 145 points. Guy's on 142. Matt's on 130. David's on 129, and you're on 128. Now, from this episode, did you think you would be able to win? Did you think you had an idea of if you got so many points, you would have a chance to either get in second or win?
Yeah, I mean, because with every task, with every episode, I 100% back myself that I would do it. There was never any doubt in my mind that, I'm going to do it. It's for me. But in saying that too, at this point, I was so in love with everyone else on the panel. Like we just bonded. I've never had this with any other, maybe with because I do the Masked Singer in Australia, and we have the same close bond, then the same as this group.
Yeah.
We were just, like at the moment we're like, what else can we do together? What can the five of us do?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that so we just want to spend time together all the time. So uh, a combination of, I always think I can win in
Yeah.
everything. I think I can do anything. Years ago in high school, I watched this movie, Samantha, and in it the whole catchphrase that she keeps saying is, if they can do it, I can do it, or it can't be done. And
Yeah.
that is literally what I think for everything.
Wow.
There might be hidden bonus points that could,
Knows?
get me shot up into first place. You don't
Yeah.
know.
So, a question that was asked by some of the official podcasts, it's been asked. But do you have
Yeah,
your own WhatsApp group now? Because a lot of UK
yeah,
contestants all have WhatsApp groups. Do you have a? So
yeah,
do you like chatting it on a regular basis and go
yeah.
woo and joke around?
Yeah, and we've got a messenger thing called the Five Friends, and we just talk on it every single
Yeah.
day.
Wow. And
Yeah,
that's what's good about this show, because it brings people together that you wouldn't expect together. And
yeah,
it's like comedians that you wouldn't have known before, and then become ginormous friends. And because
yeah,
like you're
yeah.
all
Because
famous for different
look,
things.
like, I mean, I've known all of them, or I've met all of them, have worked with all of them. Have been. I think I was in Edinburgh when Laura was there, when David was there. Um, and Melbourne. Like, we've toured together, but not together. I've done some of their shows in Melbourne for the improv group. I've done one or two shows with them, but never. But now it's like, because comedy is quite a singular. Like, you're just traveling by
Yeah.
yourself all the time. So
Yeah.
when you do get the opportunity to work with other comics, and you're like, we have this shared thing, but now we have this thing that sort of pushes your brain and your
Yeah.
body and your comfort level to the extreme, and you have that in common with someone else
Yeah.
who shares a lot of the stuff that you go through. And it's a really special thing to have with someone. It's like, I guess if you go through a near death experience, if you're on a plane and that plane has an incident where they think it's going to fall and then it doesn't, and then you
Yeah.
sort of stay in contact with all those people.
Yeah.
That's what this is like. It was a real extreme
Yeah.
experiment kind of thing. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. It's a very good comparison. The Taskmaster, it's like near death experience on a plane. It's a very good comparison. I would say it's like being on a boat that's about to sink but never actually sinks at all,
Yeah,
because the show might go downhill at one point but then might get brought back up another point because someone else has done something even funnier. Now,
yeah,
the final score for the episode was Matt was on 26. You were on 20. David was on 17, the guy was on 15, and Laura was on 13. So Matt won the episode with
yeah.
26 points. Now, I was when I was talking to Bab, and she didn't know the answer to this, so I was saving this to ask you when you win an episode, do you take the prizes home, or do you just leave them if you don't want them?
So some people take it.
Yeah.
Like Laura won heaps of stuff from Matt that she took, but some stuff, yeah, it just kind of stays.
Yeah.
Oh, like on the night, I know Matt drank some of that petrol.
Oh,
He took a sip, like you can see on the end, he takes a sip and
yeah.
it's all, it's glistening. So it's real petrol. He smelled like petrol. Afterwards, we were hanging out and everyone was having a beer. And I was like, I hope you don't, go have a sneaky cigarette or something. Not that anyone smokes there, but I was like, don't smoke or, try and take up smoking because you'll go up in flames, bro. Like, he smelled so bad because it was just dripping down his body, and because, of course, it was burning him.
Oh,
Um,
it-
we all ate
yeah.
the stuff except for the pineapple lumps. No one touched that, but everyone ate Laura's snifters. But no, some people took it and some people just left it there. I got my rugby ball back because no one
Yeah.
was interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it depended on the
Yeah.
price.
Now with Matt drinking the petrol,
Yeah.
did they have to get the like health, like the doctors on set,
Yeah.
medical staff? Did they have to get them to look at him, or did
Oh
they?
no, he took
Oh,
he spat most of it out. He got some of
oh,
it in, but he
oh,
spat.
good. Because
But then he said it's not the first time he's done it, so he
that's
obviously doesn't learn from his mistakes.
because this week I learned that it's that petrol works very well when you mix fire, and so luckily he wasn't going to a bonfire either afterwards. Because in the Swedish version of Taskmaster in the first episode, one of the contestants set fire to a lot of bubble wrap and it all goes into flame all at
Oh wow.
once.
Yeah.
And so watching that and then learning and then seeing the next day, seeing Matt drink this petrol, I'm thinking, A, we need to make sure he's nowhere near fire, and C, we need to make sure he gets cleaned up really quickly before he hurts himself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Although I think with Matt, he should have someone be with him all the time to say what's safe and what's not.
And an assistant, he needs
Yeah, yeah. To just smack things out of his hand and go, Matt, not
yeah,
that.
yeah, like a mother. When you no,
Yeah.
don't twist that. Yeah. Stay,
Get that out of your mouth.
yeah, stay away from that. I need to put these washing up tablets back in the cupboard. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. No, no, no. There's a game called Who's Your Daddy where it's about a baby eating as much stuff as possible to try and die. And I think Matt's seen that game and played it a little bit too much and tried to replicate and thought, what's the best way to die quickly?
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't, because that's when I found out that it was real petrol. I said because I could smell it, because I was sitting closest to the stage. I said to David, did you put real petrol in that? He goes, yeah. He says, that's a third bottle that it's eaten through. I go, you could have just put apple juice in there. No one would have known. He's like, no, I wanted the real thing.
Wow, it's just baffling. It's just the length people go for this. Because in series one of the UK version, Ramesh Ranganathan puts his wedding ring on the line. He didn't even tell his wife that he was going to give his wedding ring up as a prize, and
Yeah.
it's that level of commitment, and it's Matt's level of commitment to not only win the prize, to think I might tip this out, but to actually drink a little bit of it. It's like he takes his career too seriously. He needs to lighten up.
Yeah, but see, that's the danger. Like with the wedding ring and the petrol and when you have comedians and you give us a challenge, the risk of us taking it too far is always there, because we all have this anything for a reaction kind of thing going on. So chances of it going off the rails is really high.
Yeah.
At all times, I think we should all have a safety officer, because we had one safety officer there, but he was only on set when David was there, because David is a loose cannon. Like, I've played golf with David in the past that makes it is the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life, and he kept falling over just by attacking that ball with such vigor. And then, so from the first ep, they had the safety officer there, because I thought David potentially could harm himself. Because you saw he climbs into the roof. He just, because he's such a strong guy too. So when I got hurt, then all of a sudden health and safety was on the set all the time.
Which is good for David. He needs it.
Yeah, but it's like, like safety is the least of your concern. If you can get a laugh out of it, safety is not a worry.
Yeah, and you were saying about you playing golf with him. I wouldn't want to stand behind him because it would really hurt. And from experience, being hit by a golf club really does hurt. Because
and he is strong. Like I think because he did weightlifting, like Olympic weightlifting.
Wow.
And he can lift like 180 kgs or something. He's very strong. He's a very strong guy.
Wow. And you look at him and you don't think weightlifter.
Yeah.
You think small person comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now coming towards the end of this now, for people that are either watching on the YouTube or are listening on the podcast side on the audio platform, where you can also get Guy Montgomery's podcast that I think he might have forgotten about because he was tweeting about starting a podcast, but he might have forgotten about his previous podcast. Who knows? What tips and advice would you give to people for writing stand up and then going on performing stand up?
Well, it's just you have to be disciplined. You have to make time to write every day. It's like, imagine if it was like this is your job, so you have to take time. You can't just, if you had a job, only do the fun stuff. So I know writing is a bit of a punish, but always make sure that you write stuff down if you have an idea, because you will forget it. Even if you think, I'm not going to forget it, this is gold, you will forget it.
Yeah.
Write it down and then sit down and make the effort to write from that. Like every year I write a new hour, and I just basically write 4 15-minute shows or 3 20-minute shows, and then just write segues to get them together. But I sit every day at least, and I try and write one thing. It's not necessarily all good, but it keeps that going, where every day I'm in a routine of just sitting down and writing some stuff. Write, and then you're going to get to a point where if you do enough stage time, you will back yourself, and just you'll sort of have a feel for what is funny. If it's funny to you, you can trust yourself on stage. Then it comes down to delivery, because I always think if you had to read some of your favorite comedians, like if I had to read Wanda Sykes' material, and you would read it and go, that's not very funny, but then you see her deliver it, and the way she sells it, and her timing and her facial expression and everything about it, you go, that is hilarious, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. So don't focus too much about what you're writing. As long as the concept is funny and you can deliver it funny, you're onto a winner. Same with Robin Williams. If you had to read his material, you'd go, this is just a madman ranting. But then when you hear him do it, you see him do it on specials, you're like, this is insane. His energy and his, everything, his delivery. So, it's you have to, when you're writing, don't be too hard on yourself, because it's a whole package deal.
Now, when you write, this is a thing that certain comedians. So Richard Herring loves a good notebook and writes everything down, and he writes so much down. And you watch some things he does where he's looking at the book upside down because he knows what he's written from head to toe. It's a little bit odd when he does that because he doesn't acknowledge it. But do you write it down with pen and paper, or do you type it up, or do you use a typewriter? I do have an electric typewriter. That's why I mentioned that, because they do exist.
All of that. I do all of that. So I've got a typewriter, an old school typewriter, that I type it up. But I also, I make notes. I've got little notes everywhere, but I've got a stack of notebooks that's 5 meters away from me right now, because I was sitting at this table writing last night. So I jot it all down in like a mind map, where you make a little circle, you put the idea, and then off that you sort of mind map. So I mind map, and then I will write it out with pen, even just in like sort of shorthand kind of thing. And then I will type it up, but I will also type it on my typewriter, because I think once you punch it in, it stays with you forever. Like people always go, how do you remember it? I'm like, because I have written it down like 6 times, and I've punched it out on a typewriter, old school style, and then it's just in your head. And I know if I write handwritten 24 pages, A4, that is a 1 hour show. So if I had to write everything out, 24 pages, that's one. So if I write a new show, and because I don't try it before audience, I just, the first time they hear the hour is the first time I hear the hour. And then, so I would just write it out. And once it hits 24 pages, then I know. But like, because I've got a Netflix special, and when I initially wrote that show out, it was like 24 pages or 23 pages, and I'm like, it'll be long enough. But then I started touring it,
Yeah.
And eventually that 24 pages becomes like 40 plus pages because you keep adding stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's a living, breathing thing, the show. It keeps changing. And even on the night that I filmed the special, I changed stuff on the night, and I had new stuff that I added in on the night of my
Wow.
Netflix record.
Yeah.
So, you just kind of never be too set into a thing and never be too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now saying that how you said how you write out so many times, the key question there is how much ink have you used from the typewriter and from pens?
Oh, look, enough to fill a shed, one of those getaway sheds of yours. It'll be about 2/4 full, I reckon. It's like,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Because pens, in my experience, don't last long. If you look after your
Yeah.
pen really well, they don't last long. Now, I'm trying to look for traditional typewriters on the internet everywhere because my auntie Joan, oh, I gave her a shout out. There you go. My auntie Joan gave me her original electric typewriter, which is from the side of me, which is, I think it is plugged in. And I love retro. I love everything retro. Around the corner in my room, I'm that fancy. I've got a hi-fi and cassettes and vinyls and all this. And I love retro stuff, and it's really interesting to learn that you still write, because it's like with stand-up, it's hard to remember so much. But when you perform it so many times, it gets stuck in your head. But then as you were saying, as you're adding more to it, how do you remember it all?
I think mine is easier because I'm a storyteller. So and most of the stuff that is in my shows are stuff that have happened to me, or stuff that I can see happening to me, or stuff that have happened, within my inner circle. So but most of the time I'm drawing from personal experience. So it's not hard, and the one story sort of leads into the other.
Yeah.
So when I get to the end of a joke, it usually prompts me into the next. The segues are sort of a natural progression from one story to the next. So I always think about my stand-up as more like I'm at a barbecue, just chatting to some friends, but I don't give them a turn to talk, which is basically what it's like to be at a barbecue at my house.
Yeah, and there's stand-up's one of those things is where if you can talk for a long length of time, you'll be all right. You have to work out which bit's funny. So like, here's an exclusive for all the viewers out there who didn't know this, because I didn't say it before, but now I've got the opportunity to say, so I will say. So because I'm currently writing, I was going to write a 5-minute one, but then I just wanted to break the mold, shall we say? So I'm writing 3 minutes of it, and what it is that you have to find a good style, and is it easy to find like which bits of the story are the most funny when you're writing stories?
No, and I don't think till you give it to the audience, because what I always find fascinating is, you write a bit, and then when you give it to the audience for the first time, they laugh in places where in my brain I go, no, that's not the funny bit. That's not the funny bit yet. This is still the setup. Wait till I get to the funny bit. You guys are going to be blown away by it. And then you sort of start building the thing, and then people laugh. And also, after you do a 1-hour show, the things that I think is the funniest bits in the show, usually when people tweet or they talk to me afterwards about the show, they will highlight stuff that I thought, I didn't think that was the funniest thing, but that's what sticks with the audience. So you can't dictate, what happens in a show. It's sort of, it's like having a baby. You give birth to the baby, and then you kind of have to guide it, and you sort of try and put information in it, but at the end of the day, that child will go out into the world and represent themselves, and sort of do whatever the hell they want to do. And so you can't just go, no, 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 I want you to go this way. You're going to be an
Yeah.
architect. And they're like, no, no, I'm going to be an artist. So you're like, no, you come draw a house. And they're like, I will, but I'm going to draw it, So, and that's the way with a show. You think this is the show, you can write it and guide it as much as you like. But once you give it over to the audience, they're going to do with that what they will, and they're going to find what is funniest. And it's amazing how a group of people can latch on to something that you go, I did not see that happening.
And now the one thing that it's writing the material itself is a challenge. But how do you come up with the titles for your show? Because that must be even harder to do.
No, the titles is the easy thing, and I always go real generic. So I usually come up with a title while I'm doing a tour. Like if usually it's during Melbourne Comedy Festival, I'm doing one show, and like I'll cover. So my shows have been A Whole Lot of Women. You can put anything in there. Man Up. You put anything in there. The whole thing was like how, because I heard a lot during that time. This is a few years ago, where people were like, "Oh, you need to man up. You need to man up, or butch up, or." And I thought I want to write a show about that, but again, it's very open. You can put anything in there, like any kind of sort of funny thing about the stuff that you can man up about. Your taste in music, everything. And then loser, anything can go in there. Poise control, like I try and keep it as so. I usually have the name of the show before I have the show. Then I sort of start writing. I have an idea of what I want in the show, sort of what I want to talk about, but I don't have a single joke yet. And that's when I sit down. So I always find it easier to come up with the name for it, and then to write the like with the tour that I just finished in Australia, Token African. I did a DNA test to see, sort of where I fit in, and then I decided I'm going to write a show about being African, and then it just kind of, but I had nothing in there yet about. I just knew that's what I wanted to talk about, and then that's when the discipline, just sitting down and writing and go, how do I tie this all together?
Yeah, and so for people that are either listening or watching that think, oh, I might want to be a comedian, would you recommend that as a good career to go into? Would you say that it's fun, or would you say that it's hard but still fun at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it is very hard, and you are going to be by yourself a lot on the road if you're lucky, because if you're touring and you're alone all the time, it's because you're successful and you're on the road all the time. So that's a positive, but also a massive negative, because you're by yourself all the time, and you better get on with your tour manager. But it is such a rewarding industry, because my job is to make people forget their troubles for a little bit. Like all I do is go out and make people laugh for an hour and a half, 2 hours every night, and just for that little bit that you have them, they have no time, sort of to think about their own stuff and what's going on. They're just laughing. They're just releasing all of that stress. And so regardless of what happened in their week, you have them for those couple of hours, just, sort of to lighten their load for a little bit, and to release some of that stress. And, and even like people send me messages and go, can you wish my wife a happy birthday? Can you do this? And you go, it takes like 30 seconds out of my life to do that. And then, like he feels great, she feels great, like it's an industry where it's super easy to give a little bit, but the payoff is so enormous, and I mean, my job is to make people laugh. What a great job.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, you should do it, regardless of your age. I got to stand up at age 32. That's when I started.
Yeah, and
Just knuckle down and do it. It's great.
yeah. And so we come now to the end of this glorious, another fantastic episode of the Taskmaster World, the podcast. And I will say this, and if Ed Gamble is watching, hopefully he is. I do apologize. I'm not stealing this from you directly. I'm just using your idea and doing my own thing with it. Well, I say that, but I'm about to rip off you completely. Now, at the end of every episode of the official Taskmaster podcast, when they have a guest on board, and I steal that because I don't have a guest all the time. A lot of time it's me whittering on to myself, but still a lot of people watch it. Now, out of 5, how would you rate your experience on the Taskmaster World, the podcast?
I'll give you a 5. I'll give you a 5. If you had snacks here, I'd give you bonus points, but a solid 5.
Thank you. So now, for the viewers at home, the tally so far is a 5 from NZ's own Sam Smith, not the singer, the bloke that writes the task, not as glamorous as the singer, but the singer's not from New Zealand at all. I don't even know who the singer is, to be fair, so I wouldn't even know who we're on about. But Sam Smith, the writer, gave me 5 points, and Babben Larsson, the Taskmaster from Bestie Test, Taskmaster Sweden, gave me 4 points, and the lovely Urzila Carlson gave me 5 points. Now we come to the end. Where can people see you, and what are you currently up to now that Taskmaster is drawn to a close in your career?
Well, I've got Netflix special. You can find me on Netflix. There's a couple on there. I have a podcast like everyone else called That's Enough Already, and you can find it where you find all your podcasts. Got a book online, and just follow me on socials.
Well, thank you for coming on, because this has been another fantastic interview. I need to now learn more words that are better than the word fantastic, because I use that too much. But I'm a Doctor Who fan. What am I gonna say? Lovely jubbly. What other quotes can I chuck into? I can't think of any at the moment. But anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of whatever you're up to. I never said that before, but hey ho. But and hope you guys enjoy. I'll be back very shortly where I review Series 2, Episode 10. Now, I start college on Monday, UK time, because I know that Urzila's currently in the future in Monday, but it's currently Sunday for me. Well, Monday I start college, so I don't think I'll be knocking about Wednesday to upload the video, so it should be out at the weekend, hopefully Saturday, but who knows what life will throw at you. And as always, what Strictly always tell you, and remember, keep tasking. I sound like Tess Daly sometimes.
Hello everyone, please subscribe to Taskmaster World.